Hey, Malika, so talk to us. What's one piece of advice you can give us this morning?
Hi, Michael. Onboarding, I think, is big. And I feel that practices have hyper focus on systems, which I'm a big fan of systems, but systems for all the day to day operations of their practices, but they're skipping a system for onboarding, making sure that the staff they're hiring is onboarded properly in order for them to be able to retain them.
Gotcha. Okay, so most practice owners think onboarding is just about training, but what's the real long-term impact of a strong onboarding process?
I think retention, for sure, there's no doubt. What happens is that staffing has been a big problem. I mean, we talk about it so much. I joke and say, like, you beat that horse nonstop. But when I observe practices, ones that I work with or potential clients I talk to, the number one thing I notice is that they don't realize how much the time and the money it is to search for staff and then hire them. And I say, show them their secret sauce. And then within a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, that person leaves. And what everybody constantly says to me is, well, they were not a good fit.
Mm.
And my response to them, which some don't like it, is that when somebody quits in your practice, you have to look within and say, you were first at fault because you hired them. Yes, they applied, but it doesn't mean when they apply that you automatically hire them. You should have gone through some kind of process to hire them, but you failed to retain them. So there's something wrong in your onboarding system that has caused that.
Now, is there a difference between the onboarding system for a pediatric practice and a GP, like a general practice?
Yes and no. Obviously, with pediatric, we tend to get a lot of the younger generation. One, the young energy, because, we see 60, 70, the practice sees 120 patients a day. So when you have an operation that big, you want people that can have skateboards on and just be going back and forth in operatories. For that reason, it's a little different because Gen Zs want, to constantly be stimulated and excited and feel appreciated. So when you're onboarding them and you tell them something in the interview process and you rave about your amazing practice, if you don't stick to your words, they're gone. I'm sure you see this. There's so many reels and TikToks about, don't stay somewhere too long if they don't appreciate you. And
Yeah.
I joke and say, my generation, my parents taught me, don't leave your job. You're loyal to your job. Stay 10 years. Now let's jump around because the more we jump around, the more money we make, A. And B, if they don't appreciate me and they don't give me what they promise, I'm leaving. There's no
Hmm.
emotional attachment whatsoever. And the younger generation, for PETA reasons, are the ones we are looking for to put in those pediatric offices. So we have to make sure what we're saying we can deliver.
Gotcha. Okay, interesting. So then, what are the biggest, I guess you can say, misconceptions practice owners have about onboarding?
They just think that, let's say, person X has 10 years of experience. They don't really need an onboarding, Malika. If they've been doing this for 10 years in another office, they should just jump in and hit the ground running. False. Every practice is different. I've been in over almost, honestly, I'm getting close to about 200 practices. And I say, I have yet to see a practice that's identical to another one. 80% of my clients, as you know, are pedo ortho. So I've seen a lot. And I have yet to say, oh my God, this one's just like that one. So to be fair to these potential staff members that are being hired, they're not going to know how you do it unless you onboard them properly.
Okay, so then let's talk about the process, the framework, and the system approach. So, what, Malika, is your step by step process for onboarding that ensures new hires stay long term?
So there should be a checklist. There should be day one, week two, all the way to 30 days. It should be on a weekly basis. There should be a checklist. Usually, I always say the first week, do not have them pick up the phone, do not have them schedule patients. They're being onboarded. They need to get the proper training, logging into the software, logging into your HR manual if it's electronic or in person, HIPAA, OSHA training, tour of the office, shadowing. I can go on and on. All of those stuff should be done on week one.
Mm.
Week two should be with a mentor. So mentor basically is somebody that's been there with you long enough that you trust. If it's somebody that you're like, not sure if she's going to last, or don't link them up with them because all they're going to do is pollute the situation. They're going to say, oh,
Mhm.
I don't like it here. They promised me a raise, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to go on and it's going to cause a cycle. So you want someone confident and trustworthy to be their mentor. On that week one, you have somebody from that mentorship take them out to lunch on you because you
Mhm.
want to say, how's it going, Malika? Any questions? Making that connection. Week two, mentor sits with them, works with them closely. They can slowly wean in to potentially answering a phone call with guidance, making appointments. I'm using an example, by the way, for front desk. This could be for any position. Even a hygienist, I don't think should be seeing patients the first week they come in. There should be a clear conversation that as a hygienist, the first week they're not getting paid as a provider, because I know a lot of your listeners going to be like, hygienists are expensive. I can't first week just have them do nothing and not see patients when I'm paying them X amount of dollars an hour. And I get it. This is why the clear communication from onboarding is so important, to say your first week with us is onboarding. We want to make sure you are settled in. We will pay you at X amount of dollars for the first week. And then when you start seeing patients, we'll pay you as a hygienist. I'm just using that as an example because I'm sure listeners are wondering how that can be done. And then week 3, it's, just giving feedback. How is it going? Here's the things we feel like you've done really well with so far. I noticed, for example, you need some guidance on how to do verifications, how to intake a phone call. Let me sit with you a little bit more and help you with that. This goes on for the first 4 weeks. And then after that, you do a check-in at 60 days. I say the check-in can be, honestly, 10 minutes. Don't make it complicated. Malika, how's it going? Anything that you need more guidance on? We feel you're doing amazing. Here's what we think is going really well. Here are the things I feel like we need to spend some time more working with you. Hear them out, see what they need. And then 90 days, you do an evaluation. That could usually be about 30 to 45-minute sit down to really just give them feedback on how it's going and things that they feel is going well and what you feel good, like kind of like rating it 1 to 10, 1 to 5, whatever way you want. There's so many versions of that. And then from there, you schedule a 6 months check-in, because I say the first year of you as an employee, you're dating. You're not married yet. So it's so important for you guys to have check-ins, because when someone silently quits, you failed because you forgot to check in. A lot of times I get clients that, well, Malika, I meant to meet with them. Too late, it's gone. And oh my gosh, she was so great. I wish I had met with her. We don't want to have those conversations. I want you guys to put those on your calendar in order to be able to make those connections. And when you do that, you're not only holding that new hire accountable, you're holding yourself accountable. If you're not the one doing it and the manager's doing it, they hold themselves accountable and they're able to make sure that communication is very clear.
That's a fantastic process. Where do you see, Malika, in an ideal world? I feel like this is, if we follow it, we see it. But where do you see most kind of start dropping off?
Good question. So I think it depends. Most of the time I see it, but before 30 days, they're telling me, Malika, well, I meant to meet with them. And then I just feel like they're not really good. Okay, fair. But I think I always tell my clients, give at least 30 days and be open to feedback. I think we all have businesses. Our business are babies. So any kind of negative feedback, we take it very offensively. We get upset. We might not react, but like, when she doesn't know what she's talking about, she just got here. But I think it's super important to be able to listen to that feedback. I recommend do not react at the moment, but process it. And it might be that your manager's getting that feedback and is coming to you with it. Look within, because if that person's saying this, there's probably the next hire is going to say the exact same thing. So there's something potentially in the culture that makes it hard. And Michael, what I see a lot is that people that get hired into a culture where the team has been there a long time, like seniors, been there 20 years, 20 plus years, it's hard to feel welcome because a lot of those individuals have been there and, I say their legacies in the practice. I get it, but we have to also be welcoming. It's like having guests come to your home and you're not really greeting them and you're not very kind to them. They're not going to want to come to your house again. Your practice is your home. And if you can't do that, and usually, as you said, like, when does it happen? Really, right before 30 days. And if, let's say, if I'm working with a client and I'll do an exit interview because I'm curious to know for my client what's going on, the number one thing the hires tell me, I don't feel welcome here. They have a culture that doesn't allow newbies to be part of. And a lot of times that practice owner or the management doesn't like that feedback from me because they're like, that's not true. We're like the nicest people. So it's like being able to take that feedback, and we all need to be able to pivot and change when needed. Because if we can't do that, we're not going to grow as a business.
Makes me think you can be the nicest person, but that doesn't mean you're welcoming, kind of a thing, right?
Malika, we're really nice to you and welcoming to you. I'm like, yeah, but I'm different. I come on site maybe once or twice a quarter. This person's going to have to be with you 30, 40 hours a week. And if they're feeling it, and let's say this is the second or third candidate that's saying this, we have a problem that we need to fix.
Yeah. Interesting. So then feedback, when it comes to feedback time, so let's say it's the 30 days and you're kind of saying, oh, that's just your preference. Or is it more, hey, Michael, I need to step back from the feedback and really look at it. And it's not just a preference. It's just me getting hurt and maybe I should look into it.
Honestly, getting heard and look into it, because we now live in a world, and again, because pediatric gets the younger generation, need to be willing to make those changes. Because if we don't, then we won't be able to hire those younger, electronic savvy. I joke and say my 16-year-old can just know so much more about things than I do, and even especially with AI and everything that's changing now. So ideally, if I was a dentist, do I want my son in that practice? Yes, because I feel like he's going to pick it up so fast, and he might even have other ideas to put into place, even in the front or in the back. Because I think everybody's trainable. I can train anybody as long as they have the right personality and attitude. I think willing to learn and being positive. Because if you have those two attributes, you can train them. And I always say, and like, especially with dentistry, we're in the business of service. We are compared to restaurant service. And that's because it's about that first approach, the greeting at the front desk. Just like when you walk into a nice Michelin star restaurant and the host or the hostess that greets you, it makes a huge difference. You're excited to go to this amazing restaurant. If they don't greet you and you can't find someone to seat you, you're already turned off by it. Mm-hmm. So we want to be able to do the same. And only way we can do that is having the right team. Because I joke and say this to my clients all the time. I say, you went to dental school all by yourself. Congratulations. You got your pediatric specialty. Amazing. All by yourself. But the minute you start practicing as an associate or as an owner, you need a team. Your name on that door is important. But if your team can't deliver your vision and core values, it's not going to go far. And those people have to be so aligned and have that right attitude and that positivity in order to attract those little patients and those moms and dads that are coming in. And you and I mean, I'm sure you know that the level of high maintenance and neediness is so high with parents these days that if you can't make those connections and your team can't do that, it's not going to go far. So I think that's why those team members' attitudes and energy are so crucial in the growth of your practice.
So then that makes you ask, what onboarding touch points should be automated and what should always be personal?
I think a couple of things. I think you should consider personality test when you're hiring. I'm big on that. DISC, that's the one I use. You really figure out what they are on the personality test, because you want to also make sure that they fit within the culture of your office. So that could be as part of your interview process. It's just a requirement that you do. I have a lot of practices that do this right now. So that can be automated. After you do the first round of interviews, you say, this is what we do to our candidates that are in the pool of hiring. Then you review that when they come in. The onboarding checklist should be automated. A lot of people will do it online through Google Drive. You can decide on what you're using. Some of the newer softwares like Oryx can customize that for you. You can put it in there and you go through and you tell them you've got to complete these, date them, and initial them. And someone from manager will review them. And then there could be pre-recorded videos that you have your amazing team members that you know are capable of doing it. Pre-record them and how to answer the phone, how to verify benefits. Because you don't want to have someone sitting there just repeating that over and over again. That's time. Time is money. So those all could be automated. What I say touch feeling parts that cannot be automated is taking them out for a coffee or lunch, making this connection for a check-in, a review. That's more personalized. Honestly, everything else really can be automated.
Interesting. Okay. So then how do you systematize onboarding so it's consistent even when leadership changes?
Having a blueprint for it. Like, for example, when I work with an office, I have a blueprint of that onboarding. What happens on day one? Honestly, I even go further back. I go on official offer letter to meet and greet. I always recommend a meet and greet with your team. If you're hiring someone for a very important role in your practice, maybe you're getting a clinical lead for the back. Maybe you're getting a treatment coordinator. Depending on your size of the practice, maybe you're getting someone under the manager. Your entire team should meet them before you hire them. Listen to the case feedback.
Okay.
Because sometimes I love these doctors. They're just, on the weekend interviewed a staff member and they come in Monday and at the huddle, they're like, oh, we just hired Sarah. She's going to be starting next week. Well, who's Sarah? What position? So then that also causes a little bit of doubt in the culture of the practice. So I highly recommend a meet and greet. It could be that they come around, You buy pizza for everybody. This potential individual just hangs out at the lunchroom, connects with everybody. Then you just ask at the next huddle in the morning, guys, how was Sarah? What did you guys think? I would love some feedback because your team knows you and knows your practice. Listen to that feedback. And then from there, your first day onboarding with a checklist that is followed. Sometimes I even say, put a link to that checklist, and that link goes to the pre-recorded video that you have for them to watch. They watch it. I even have gone sometimes in practice as deep as they take a quiz. If there's somebody coming in a position that is insurance and money related, they need to take a quiz. They need to be able to calculate a copay. They need to know how to verify benefits. They need to understand the insurance plans, because if they don't, no matter how much training you do, that's going to be a longer process. So you need to know that upfront before you expose them to that, because that could cause a mess in your practice. So depending on the scenario, you would have automated checklists for them. And then when they're completed, your manager or you would go back and just check, see where they initialed. At the check-ins, you potentially would talk to them. Sometimes you can have columns where one column says feedback on that, let's say, module 4 training on answering phones, how to use a phone system. It could be so detailed of phone system, software, verification form, anything you're doing, let's say. Even in the clinical team, I say take pictures of your trays, have them in a binder so that they know. And then part of the process, they have to make some trays. And then somebody that's mentor, have them do it without looking at the picture to initial off that they figured it out. Knowing the names of the instruments, taking x-rays on colleagues to learn. This can go on, but there's so many steps that should be taken to set that new hire for success.
Okay, I like that. No, so we rewind a little bit. You mentioned like, hey, we're all inviting over Sarah. What did you guys think of Sarah, right? Kind of a thing. What if, Malika, I'm the practice owner and I want to replace a team member? Like we realize, hey, this person is started going down, toxic or whatever. So I'm interviewing Sarah, and Sarah's going to be Billy's replacement. And so if I bring them into the team and say like, hey guys, I want you guys to meet Sarah. She's also back office, front office or anything. Billy's going to start thinking like, wait, what's happening? That's exactly what I'm doing. Is there a way we can do that without creating that type of feel?
I love how you're thinking. This is great. So a couple of things. I think when you're replacing someone, if it's management, I'll shelf that, I'll bring that up. But if it's not management and someone else, just let's say an assistant, a front desk, you're replacing, or a hygienist, you're replacing, before you plan that, you just let the team know very broadly that we're expanding. I want to bring more team members. I see that we're growing. My accountant, my marketing, my website designers notice how much busier we're getting. So I want to plan ahead, and I'm bringing someone just for everybody to meet. Let me know what you think. So be very broad. And I always joke and say, let that person be on their tippy toes too. Because obviously the replacement is that they're not doing what they're supposed to do. So I would still bring them in, because I think it's important, because I even think that individual that is someone you want to potentially get rid of, maybe they'll even make it easier on you and they'll quit. I hate to say it that way, but that's just what will happen, because the person that is not a good fit, they already know they don't fit in. They're going to hope that they can hang on, or they're already looking for something else. I always tell my clients, when you're thinking about replacing someone, and it's someone like, let's say if I'm working with an office, I tend to sometimes see their name already on Indeed looking, because they already know things are not going well. So I still think you should bring them in. Now, if it's a management position and it's your manager and your only manager on the team, then that needs to be done privately. And I think that takes more due diligence anyways. But other than that, like the big hierarchy role, I think you should definitely still bring them in.
Gotcha. I like that. I like that idea. We're expanding. We had a meeting with our accountant and we just want to bring him in, more potential, right?
Yeah. And I'm starting to just interview people. Nothing is concrete yet. I just want to meet everybody, depending on the interview process and how it's going with that potential candidate, you might want to give them a heads up, or you might just not even want to let the candidate know and kind of see how the interactions go.
Interesting. Okay. Now you mentioned something about the offer letter. What should happen between signing the offer letter and then their first shift?
So when they sign on the offer letter, it should have your start date. The offer letter is going to give you a probation period, all the benefits and so on. So between that, then the communication has to be said to your team. Because if you don't do that, that also causes a lot of friction. I joke and say it's like me inviting like guests to my house without telling my husband. And he's like in his pajamas. I'm like, oh, well, look, Sarah's here. It's going to cause friction between me and him. You can give me a heads up. Like, who's this lady just standing here? So it's really treated like your home. So I recommend a huddle, a quick meeting, guys. I'm super excited. That the lady you guys met at lunch a couple of weeks ago, I'm excited to share that she accepted the offer. I cannot wait to let her join our team. Please remind her, we need to welcome her, making it exciting for the entire team. Her first day is this. I even go to deeper of saying there should be a card that everybody signs that welcomes her, that goes in the kitchen, in the break room, on somewhere with maybe a candy bar, something that welcome. Because again, you want that person to feel so special. And for that reason, I think that should be done. It doesn't cost much. And then you put that so the team is ready. Because if you don't do that, this person walks through the door, it's like, who's that? Who's here? Who's that girl? Did she get hired? Doesn't look good all around. So definitely that communication needs to be done before the first day.
Yeah. No, interesting. Awesome. I love it. So the one thing you mentioned at the beginning of the episode is, oh, it just didn't work out with that person, right? Kind of a thing after 30 days. So how do you prevent the common new hire regret that happens in the first few weeks besides the onboarding process? Are there any psychological triggers in onboarding, meaning like what language or tone or messaging make an employee feel like they're in the right place?
I think really sharing the culture of your practice. Don't blindside them. If you have a culture where, like I said earlier, people have been there a long time, there's legacy team members in there prepping that person coming on board. I sometimes have talked to a candidate for a client and I'll say, listen, sit on a practice. They've been around for 40 years, but there's a heads up. The manager's been there for 28. She's lovely. It just takes a little time to connect. So just give her grace. Don't take it personally. It's not because she doesn't like someone coming on board. What happens is that someone like that, I've had situations where they'll call me or I go in and they'll say, oh my God, Malika, you were so on point. Now me and her friends, we ended up grabbing lunch together. Make it clear of the expectations, that happens so that they're not blindsided by it again. Because I think that's when within that 30 days is such a sensitive time that if you don't have those, they're done. There's no loyalty in 30 days for them to stay with you.
Interesting. So then once they built that 30 days, I think you said week 2 is mentorship, right?
Yes.
Which to me sounds powerful. But what happens if you're lean and mean, there's really no mentor? Like how can practices build mentorship into their onboarding process?
My pedo startups that I work with and they're adding team members, I joke and tell the owner, you're the mentor because you only have 2 team members. My more infant practices, that's tough. And that's why I always say the doctor is going to be the number one advocate, the owner. When you are a practice of 4+, sometimes it's voicing that I'm looking for a mentor as we grow. Anybody interested in this position? Unless you already know who that is, don't ask a question. Then people will get offended. Because if you look, I'm looking for a mentor, and then everybody wants to be a mentor, then it's tough unless you rotate it based on department. You can have a front desk mentor, and then you can have a clinical mentor or a hygiene mentor. But if you already know who that mentor is for you, just having a one-on-one sit down and saying, Malika, I think you've been with me for 2 years. I know how connected you are to the practice and how much you care for our little patients. I'm going to hire more individuals. It would mean the world to me if you can be a mentor for the new hires. What are your thoughts on that? Here's my expectations of that. And I always say, spell it out, create it. And I joke with ChatGPT, you can create anything these days. Your ideal position for that mentorship is because you're empowering someone to be a leader. A mentor is a leader. So that is like something that individual usually will get excited about. And also it's fun. You're going to lunch, you're paying for their free lunch or free coffee. And they'll usually do a couple of those within the first 90 days. And that will make them feel special to do it. So I don't think you'll have a hard time for anybody to say no to that. They'll probably take it on.
Gotcha. Okay, interesting. So let's talk about when things go wrong. What are the biggest red flags during onboarding?
Honestly, I say being late. If someone's late more than once already, not good. I hate to say it. That is going to be a continuous problem. If someone has that habit, you're not going to be able to change them. It's rare. Attitude. If they were phenomenal during interviewing time, they were great when they came in for, meet and greet, but then they're having attitude problems and you have multiple people coming to you from your team concerned, you're better nipping it up front than, as I said earlier, exposing them to your secret sauce in your practice. Please don't make it hostile. Have a sit down. Sarah, thank you for being part of our team. But for us, these things are very important. And we've noticed that this only has just not gone well. I don't want to waste your time. Make it about them because they're under a 9-day probation period anyways. We just feel like it's not a good fit. I want you to find a practice that is a good fit for you. That way it doesn't become hostile, doesn't cause any extra unnecessary drama. Because as we know, some people just go on social media and blast a practice. We want it to be very positive. I joked almost to the point where it became their decision, not yours, to fire them. They decided that, oh yeah, Dr. X, you're absolutely right. I felt like this was not a good fit. I appreciate you meeting with me. I will make today my last day.
Gotcha. I like that. I like that a lot. I appreciate you giving us the script. It's really
Yeah.
important for that. So then, if a practice owner listening right now is struggling with high turnover, what's the first thing they should change in their onboarding tomorrow?
Having a checklist with it and making sure they follow it and making sure they're clear when they're interviewing. Because sometimes you don't know what you really want. You're just saying, oh my God, this person has 6 years of experience. I'm going to hire them. But are they the right fit for your practice? If you don't have core values, you don't have a mission statement, stop and do that first. Because when you have those, that connects with your onboarding and hiring process.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And that's where I see a lot of struggle is that they're just hiring. And I'm like, I know, Dr. X, this is not for you because it doesn't fit your core values. So it's like they have to go back and revisit their core values and their mission statement. And sometimes I walk into office that don't have it. But the good news, you can always put it together. It's not that hard to do.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that a lot. So then with that, if they decide to do this, the checklist, is there any template that we can follow off of? Do you have a template, like a checklist or anything like
I
that?
do. I have a checklist where basically, and I'm just going to quickly say a little bit, like it says day one, for example, payroll setup, log in for software. It has all of that, like OSHA, HIPAA videos, training, walk through in the office, emergency exit. Like it goes through all of that stuff, like first day, like goals. And the point of contact of who is going to do it for them. And usually that same person is walking through that whole journey the whole week. And then day one is so important. Day one has to go right. Please don't bring someone into your office if it's a day that's chaotic and you're short staffed all the time. And you already know that. You're feeling yourself and that new hire. Make sure you do it at the right time. If they need to start on a Tuesday because your Mondays are crazy and you're doing IV sedation and it's chaos in your office, don't bring them on Monday. I feel like strategically planning that. And then, the mentor, so that you have the mentorship happening, process of watching videos if you're really good about scheduling those videos. And if you don't have it right now, it would be great right now to start making those videos. Start making them, asking individual in your team, saying like, Sarah, you're so good at verifying benefits. Can you do a video? And you notice on Zoom, they can just open a Zoom, share a screen, show their verification form, for example, video themselves and save it, 30-minute clips. And then ask someone in the back, Judy, can you do this for me in the back and video this? Select your content, create a folder, and then have these stuff checked off and ready to go so that when you have your next hire, they have some things to work with.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Awesome, Malika. I appreciate your time. And if anyone has further questions, you can definitely find her on the Dental Marketer Society Facebook group, or where can they reach out to you directly?
They can go on my website, czardentalconsulting.com, or they can email me directly at malika@czardentalconsulting.com.
If they wanted the checklist, can they just reach out to you?
I will give it to them. Email me. I'm happy to share it free. Happy to send it. One thing I want to add is you better do a background check and reference check before you hire anybody. I didn't say that. I'm like, I need to say this. Please, please. It doesn't even cost more than $100 to do a background check. I cannot express this enough. Do it, please. Not because you recognize the office they're coming from, it's going to be good enough. No, must do a background check. Reference checks are important and it cannot be their friends. So, because I see this a lot, it drives me bonkers. So please reference check and background check. It doesn't matter what position you're hiring in that practice, you need it. You deserve to know because you don't want to know later. I've had so many situations where sadly things surface after, and if they had done the background check, they would have known.
Where can they go for that? Background checks?
Background check, they can go online. Their payroll company usually gives it to them for free. Or let's say if they're part of Bent Erickson, Cedar, any of those HR companies, they'll provide all that because there's so many of them. Honestly, I joke because you can even Google it and you'll get like 20 options.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that information is going to be in the show notes below as well. And Malika, thank you for being with us and we appreciate you.
Of course.